All right, it's Thursday. It's time for Under the Radar. But first, like, subscribe, and drop a comment if you want me to talk about a player that you think is under the radar that you'd like highlighted in a previous segment. We've been doing this for a couple of weeks now. I think we finally have a format. This show is going to run Monday through Friday. We're going to hit 2 games on most shows where we highlight a guy that maybe is someone that doesn't have a huge sample size at the big league level. That's someone that's just come up from AAA, or someone that I think is on the cusp of maybe putting it all together and breaking out. Those are the types of players that we're going to highlight in this segment for a couple of reasons. One, they might help you win a bet. 2, those are the types of players that typically have value in the prop market, which I know so many of you guys like to bet. So that's what we're going to do. For the first one we're going to look at today is going to be White Sox Royals. We talked about this game on total basis. Another thing, I'm never going to replicate what we talked about on total basis on this show. So this is really also to accompany the total basis show. If we talked about something on total basis, I'm not coming here to rehash it. Instead, so on a day like today, where we did hit every game, I will come and give you a different spin. On total basis, I talked about the White Sox plus 1.5, showing some value, being the side I would take in this game. And so I'm going to go a different angle and just specifically look at Anthony Kay, who will be the starting pitcher in this game for the White Sox. Anthony Kay was a guy that, it's a name you probably heard in the past, but the last couple of years he's been over in Japan. And like so many of these guys that go over to Japan and then come back and make a big league club, they're probably going to be better than they were the last time around. And I think that's the case with Anthony Kay, who had a really good season in NPB last year and has, basically been signed as a guy that is going to be in the mix for the White Sox this year, whether it be coming out of the bullpen in long relief, being a piggyback option after an opener, or in today's case, a starting pitcher. The White Sox like what they saw out of Kay, and he is in their plans. He's been in the rotation in some capacity this season so far, and he's got the ball again tonight. And I think this sets up nicely for him to have success. I also think you're going to see him strike some batters out here. And so that's the way I want to look today. Anthony Kay, over his strikeout prop, pitcher strikeouts, is plus 3.5 at plus money. That was so plus 3.5 is plus 105 at most sites. And that would be for Anthony Kay strikeouts. You look at his first 2 starts. I don't think he was amazing by any means, but he certainly hung in there. And he did it against better teams than the Royals team he's going to face tonight. I talked about this Royals team a little bit being, maybe collectively sluggish. A lot of these guys played in the World Baseball Classic, and that's sort of what I've seen out of them to this point. 5-7 to start the season. A lot of people are high on the Royals. I'm not one of them. And I outside of Bobby Witt, I don't love this Royals lineup. Got an aging Salvador Perez. It's just, Garcia had the big World Baseball Classic. I felt like he would come down to earth. Collectively, I think the Royals are right where I expect them to be, kind of hovering around 500. In this case, a couple of games under 500. Now, I've talked about the White Sox a ton. I still think that they are an undervalued commodity as it pertains to the entire season. However, they swept the Blue Jays, and I do think it maybe killed the short-term value on this team a little bit. I do like the plus 1.5, but at minus 130, I would hope for maybe 15 to 20 cents better than that on the number for, like, if I was going to really get involved with it. That being said, I do think there's some value on White Sox plus 1.5, minus 130. And a big reason for that is I think Anthony Kay is going to pitch well. He did not strike anyone out last time out against the Brewers, but I think, or against the Blue Jays, I'm sorry, but I think that has more to do with the Blue Jays being a good offensive team, putting together good at-bats. And, I just think it's more happenstance than anything that he didn't have any strikeouts because he didn't pitch poorly. He's going to pitch to contact. He's not a guy that's going to come out and just rack up strikeouts, but he's a left-handed pitcher that the Royals haven't seen much of, that, is someone that was striking out guys in Japan last year and also had about a strikeout per inning in the spring. So, to think he can't get more than 4 here, I can just about guarantee he's going to pitch into the 4th inning because he didn't even have his best stuff in his first 2 meetings against better teams, the Brewers and the Blue Jays. And he went 4 2/3 against the Brewers, 5 strikeouts in that one, 4 walks, but he had his 5 strikeouts. Last time out, I feel like he was more in the zone, probably trying to compensate for the walks the first time around, but still went 4 1/3, only gave up 2 runs on 3 hits. It was too, again, can he be better? Yes. What was his first 2 outings terrible? No, especially against teams like the Brewers and the Blue Jays. Here he gets the Royals. And again, I think that this is a lineup that he absolutely can have success against. So just as an alternative from the White Sox +1.5 play, which I do like and I talked about on total bases, I'll go Anthony K over 3.5 strikeouts. It's plus money. You're looking at, if you assume he pitches into the 5th, like he has in his first 2 starts, you're looking at 1 strikeout an inning. It's very reasonable, and you're getting plus money for that, which is, I think, a bargain. So Anthony K over 3.5 strikeouts for our first play. I do have a client play up right now. That is on my page at WagerTalk, where you can always get all of my pages, all of my plays on my page at WagerTalk. I am 8-1 in my last 9 baseball selections. That goes back to Saturday when we had a 3-0 baseball sweep. Came back on Sunday, hit both of my plays on Sunday. And yeah, it's an 8-1 run on the bases going into today. Already one client play locked in for Thursday. In Major League Baseball, we'll have others. I will probably add some AAA to that. And I will start betting Korean baseball. The reason I have not yet is completely by design. And I'm going to outline that. In the first KBO play I make of the year, you'll understand why I have not bet any KBO yet to this point, but I fully intend to being involved, as I always am, throughout the season. I just have a little bit different strategy this year that I think is going to pay off, and you will see. I'm going to outline all of that probably at some point over the next couple days. The only reason I didn't have a bet yesterday is because every single game got rained out and the weather was awful in Korea. So keep an eye on that. If you get on my all access service for baseball, you're going to get MLB, AAA, KBO, and I'm confident we're going to win across all three markets this year. All right, let's talk about Rockies Padres. This is one that I kind of alluded to on total bases, the way I would go with this one, but I guess we'll provide a little bit more sort of detail as to why I would look the Rockies way. Now, again, I'm going to give you a couple of alternatives here, but I do think the best way to play this is just going to be to take the Rockies on the run line. This would likely be a client play for me if the price was better, very similar to the White Sox. I think the market has just started to smarten up a little bit to these teams being better than they were last year, especially the Rockies, who come off of a sweep of the Astros. This is a team that won a historic low number of wins last year, 43 for the season, and they are already 6-6, the same record as the Padres to start this year. Could they be in for a little bit of a letdown here in San Diego? Yeah, I suppose. But the Padres aren't very good either, and they have to come all the way back from Pittsburgh, where they just took a 2 of 3 from the Pirates. So I would argue that San Diego is just as sort of overvalued right now, because I think they were fortunate to sort of have the success they did in the Pirate series. Maybe a little bit more, the Pirates, I think, did not play a great series. Like, they kind of came off of like a very high energy sweep of the Orioles. And so I almost attribute that more to the Pirates being in a letdown than it is the Padres having any sort of like, any reason to think the Padres are going to have real success this year, which I do not. They are a sell for me. I don't think this San Diego team is a playoff team. I think they will be fortunate to hover around 500 where they are right now. So you bring it into today, Randy Vasquez is a guy that has certainly grown on me. Like, I was probably wrong about him. But that's not, again, could he pitch as well as he did the first 2 games? Yeah, I suppose. And if he does, like, so be it. That's not why I'm fading the Padres here. This is not a fade of Randy Vasquez, though the Rockies have seen him enough where I wouldn't be that surprised if he gave up some runs. Where I like the Rockies is the fact that I think Chase Dollander gets the bulk of the innings here. So it's going to be Herget. Jimmy Herget will open this game. I don't know exactly what that means. Probably an inning. It's probably going to be treated as a relief outing. But what I am hoping for, what I do think we see, is a bulk innings sort of setup here for Chase Dollander. And the reason I'm willing to target some of these Rockies prospects from years past, I just think there's adults in the room finally in Colorado. From a player development standpoint to an organization running standpoint, I think you have some actual like people that know how to run a baseball organization in charge now. And the turnaround, granted, it's only been 12 games. It's pretty apparent that this is a team that looks like a professional baseball team this year. Last year, who knows what that was? One of the worst teams in the history of the sport. I'm going to revisit some of these guys I liked in years past in this organization because I think the organization didn't do them any favors. And at the top of that list is Chase Dollander. This is a guy that was a first round, ninth overall pick back in 2023. In any other organization, he's probably like a can't miss starting pitching option. In the Rockies organization, they have no clue how to develop pitching or players like past the AA level. So he gets up, he gets sort of thrust into the big leagues very quickly, and shocker, it didn't go well. But he has that experience. He had an offseason with a little bit of direction, and now he comes out this year, fastball velo up. He's always had a big fastball. Now instead of 97, it's up close to 99, and the breaking stuff has looked really good. That's the biggest difference between last year to this year so far, is the secondary pitch off of that big fastball has looked great. And that's something that he just simply did not have last year. Outside of being able to throw 98, but throw it right down the middle last year, he really didn't have anything other than some big velo. So Dollander's made a step forward so far last year to this year. The Rockies have clearly made a step forward last year to this year. I think this is getting priced as if it's a bullpen game for the Rockies, but I think this is going to be an opener followed by Dollander for as long as he can go. So I think there's still value here. I will consider adding this to my client card if I can get a slightly better price. Plus 1.5, minus 130 is where it starts to get a little steep, especially if this game occurred a week ago. We're probably looking at Rockies plus 1.5, minus one, even money, minus 105, minus 110. So I need a little bit better value to make this a client play. But as far, there's only 6 games on the slate today. There really aren't many better options, in my opinion, than Rockies plus 1.5. And I do like that Anthony K strikeouts over prop. That's your Under the Radar episode for today. Hop in the comments, like and subscribe, and let me know who you want to talk about tomorrow. This show will run Monday through Friday, every day throughout the baseball season. So let me know who you want to talk about tomorrow. Starting pitching, it can be hitters that you're not sure of, someone that was just called up. Let me know, and I will go and use your comments to build, what we talk about on tomorrow's show. Again, Under the Radar, this is going to highlight players that maybe aren't on your radar, but might be on mine. So let's make some money this year. Check out my packages up at WagerTalk. It's going to be a great baseball season. I hope to have you along with me, and we will see you guys tomorrow.